Hi, I'm Phil with Imagination International, and today we're going to learn how to make this fan art cosplay sword inspired by Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. One of our major intentions with this project was to build it out of found materials or garbage and then turn it into a professional looking cosplay sword. So we're going to start with a base of corrugated plastic, add layers of cardboard using hot glue, wrapping it in used canvas, and then transforming it with Tommy paint. All right, let's start with the blade. Use your template and cut 5 or 6 strips of cardboard, and then cut one of the corrugated plastic slightly wider than your template. Start applying squiggle lines of hot glue all the way up and down the corrugated plastic and pressing layers of cardboard onto either side. Let's use our template and trace over that cardboard and start carving it just like a block of wood. Take 2 smaller strips of cardboard and attach them to the center of each side of the blade. Now that your blade is in its approximate shape and it has some dimension, let's add some edges to those faces by hot gluing strips of thick wire along the very center line on either side of the blade face. Once the hot glue holding the wire onto the blade faces has cooled, take your used canvas, trim a large section, and start pinning it to the blade face. Wrap the entire blade in canvas, stretching it tight and then closing it with hot glue. Trim the excess, start pinning the corners, and your blade will start taking shape. All right, we have a blade and now we need somewhere to put it. So let's construct the rest of the sword, or hilt and pommel in sword terms. Take your PVC pipe and cut a U bracket into the very top where the sword blade will physically rest. After that, you're gonna wanna construct your handguard. So go back to your template, cut the 2 big round pieces out of cardboard, and decide how thick you want your handguard to be. Once you have that decided, cut a long rectangular strip to kind of act as that centerpiece. Working from one end to the other, start tacking it all together and then put it onto your sword. Once you have the handguard in place, but before you close it up, let's reinforce it by putting some structural slats in there and hot gluing them in place. We chose to put some filler foam in ours just to make sure there was no empty space for things to go wrong. Once your handguard is built, start wrapping it with canvas in the same way you wrap the blade. The more layers you add, the more times you wrap your sword, the stronger it will structurally be. Remember, when placing the sword blade into that U-cut, use as much hot glue as you possibly can and wrap tightly with canvas, tacking it with hot glue to make sure it stays strong. We do not want the sword blade falling out of that U-joint. All right, this is super exciting. You actually have a sword that looks like a sword, and it weighs something, and it looks awesome. Now it's time for the painting process. For this, we brought in one of our in-house artists, Melody, who's gonna transform this sword. Our base coat's gonna start with a brown black. This might not make a lot of sense right off the bat, but it gives us something to work down into as we add additional layers of paint on top. After the brown black is dried, add a layer of silver to the blade and to the handle, and a layer of bronze to the actual handguard. After that's all dried, let's add a layer of pearl onto the blade. Now that our base coat is pretty much there, let's work on some detail. Use the antiquing coating to give a little more depth, to add shadow, and to add wear or age, making the sword seem like it's fresh from battle. Then finally come in and do final detail work using your bronze, using your gold, using your silver, using the antiquing wax, bringing it all together, and a fine brush, just working those areas around the cracks, around the chips, to give them the extra fine detail. Now that Melody's all finished up, we have a transformed sword. From trash into treasure, we have a Triforce sword almost ready to go. Let's finish it up by adding a leather wrapped handle and a gemstone to either side of the handguard. For the leather handle, just find some scraps, start tacking them on with hot glue into a crisscross pattern until you get something that looks about like that. For the gemstone, this one's really up to you. If you can find some blue gemstones that'll work well, glue them straight on. If you don't have gemstones available, a great option is to take a scrap of plastic, paint it blue, and glue it right onto the handguard. So that's it. You have a Triforce sword, and it's awesome. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial. If you did, leave us a comment, let us know how yours turned out, and I'll see you at Comic-Con.